Okay, thank you all so much for your wonderful films. Just to remind you, and Stacey's here. Stacey did the last film we just watched, Flying While Fat. Hi, Stacey. Hello. Oh, I feel like this should just be your night, really, shouldn't it? Yeah.
We say fat liberation is about taking up space without apology, but this feels a bit extreme.
Yeah, and we also have, so Stacy, we also have Birgitta, who made the film Erasure, we have Comfort, who made Black Barbie, and we have Lily, who made Eyes. So can we give them all a round of applause? So this is going to have to be a snappy Q&A, so I'm just going to ask one really massive general question to all four, and then we'll open it up. So while I'm getting them warmed up, then if you can think about some questions you want to ask, and we'll get the mic to you. Okay, so my first question, and maybe Birgitta, I think I'm going to start with you. So my question is for all four of you, but it's essentially thinking about your four films and how they work together, is this kind of idea about visibility or invisibility, like how you're supposed to be perceived by society, what you're supposed to look like, and how you might have to, as in Flying with Fat, how you might have to diminish yourself to sort of fit in with what's expected of you. So, Birgitta, could you maybe start with talking about Erasure and where did the kind of concept come from that? Why did you want to visualize this story? What was it for you?
Originally for me, I was very interested in this kind of Marxist idea of the invisibility of labour and how you might actually visualise labour, because labour is something invisible that, you don't see it. People make all these things and we don't see the work they put into it, and I wondered how you could capture that. And I was asked to make a film for an exhibition at the Venice Biennale, so I came up with the idea for this film. But I was also making a whole load of other artworks at the time. And it actually first started when I did a lot of drawings of my grandmother's rosary. And I was on a residency and I wanted to do just every day loads and loads of drawings of her rosary. And one day, I thought I'm going to draw it with physical actions. And so I started to have the rosary in one hand and do cleaning with the other hand and use cleaning products to make marks. And then from that, I did a whole load of other works as well that all go with this, but this was the film that came out of it. So it was so this was made with a lot of cleaning products. There's bleach in it and scouring pads are used. And
yeah, I really love the textures in the background, which I guess comes from the physical performance of you scrubbing for many hours in the gallery space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe, so Comfort, if you could talk a bit about the story. Obviously, it's very personal for you, but it's not your actual voice, is it? But it's you wrote the script for it.
So firstly, Abigail, thank you for this amazing programme and London International Animation Festival. Black Barbie is quite a personal project because, initially it started when I moved to Ghana in 2012 and I was getting my hair done. And my little cousin came over, and she's quite dark-skinned, and her sister's quite fair, just like me and my sisters. I'm quite the darkest out of my two sisters. And when I was getting my hair braided, the stylist automatically went to the lighter-skinned sister and was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful! She's so beautiful! She's so beautiful!" But ignored my cousin, who's quite chocolate-skinned. And I just questioned her, and I was like, why did you not say both of them was pretty, but you just automatically went to the lightest sister, and she couldn't answer. So then in the evening when my cousins were going home, the elder one that's my color complexion was like, "Sister Comfort, can I speak to you?" And then she just said that she hates her skin color and that she wished she was like her sister, and that she wants to start bleaching. And I was like, what do you want to do that for? And then I remembered my own self when I was her age and having gone through that experience of being dark-skinned and going to Ghana and being compared with my other sisters and actually trying bleaching products myself at 23. And so I said, okay, let me write this poem for her. And I wrote it. And then I realized that there was an ongoing problem, with this situation of colorism, and so I made it into a film. And I didn't realize how much of an impact it had in 2016, and now in 2021. And so eventually I turned it into a children's book as well. So it's just one of those, when I watch it now, I'm just like, oh, I start realizing it. And I remember when my mother first got me a black Barbie when I was young, and I hated it. I wanted that white Barbie, and that's how the whole poetry came about. And I wanted this white Barbie, and I was crying, and she just wanted me to just love who I was. And I think now that I'm like older now, and I look back, I've come far, and even in terms of my hair, and I look at some of my old pictures, having straight hair and having perm in my hair or wearing weaves, and I'm like really accepting with my natural hair and stuff. And so yeah, and it wasn't just about making a film for just black children or black people, but for everyone to actually accept the skin that they're in. And it's just important to have that sense of acceptance and not to hate the skin that you're in. And so that's how Black Barbie came about. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. Oh, you've got one. Yeah.
And it matches my outfit.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
So thank you so much for inviting me, and I really enjoyed both your films and yours. Thank
that
you
was
for the
to you,
program.
Stacey. You probably don't know that.
So Eyes came out of my experience of being a trans, non-binary person, and kind of moving through the world in a gender that that a lot of people don't really believe exists. And so it's quite difficult when no one kind of sees you as who you are. And so I was kind of trying to capture that idea of being kind of invisible, but also I spoke to a lot of trans people while making this film, and I worked with a lot of young trans people who made the models at the end, who were in the bar. And a lot of them talked about being kind of hyper-visible as they move about the world. So it's this kind of double thing of like, no one really seeing you, but also everyone staring at you. And I worked with a writer, a friend of mine, and we kind of came up with this idea of like people's eyes sticking on you because you're kind of feeling the weight of their sight, but they're not seeing you. And I kind of wanted to show this feeling of like, I guess kind of gender dysphoria of like being stared at and not seen. But also to show the shedding of that and the way that when you find community and you're in that community and you're safe with people who do see you, you can like kind of unfold and be yourself and live in your kind of truth. And that's kind of what the story I was trying to tell.
Yeah, and it works so well with animation, like the physical, the eyes on that you can feel that, like you said, the embodiment of just like that anxiety brought around by being judged all the time. Yeah. Mm. Similarly, Stacey, you still with us? Yes.
Yeah.
Your film, in terms of that as well, of this being looked at by society, and how you've kind of taken that on with your film.
Yeah, I definitely felt a kinship with a lot of the animations that I watched tonight. And hi, and I'm sorry I can't be there with you in person. Thanks for including me in this way, and thanks for doing this work. But yeah, I think what started out as the reason for this film was that there's a lot of discussion about fat people, especially in terms of travel. There was a lot of newspaper articles, as you saw quoted in there. And there wasn't really a lot of first-person narratives of lived experience of people having the experience of traveling as a fat person. And I think had I had to go back and do it now, there would be slightly less apology within the film itself. But at that point, it was really important to just have this lived experience spoken about. And my participants were so beautiful and eloquent in the language that they used and in their perspectives, that it was a wonderful thing to just include their voices and have their experiences represented on screen.
I like that. You see, well, you're in an Up Yours program, so we're taking it that, there was some rebellion in there,
Yes, there was, for sure, yeah.
Should we open it up for some audience questions? Have anyone got anything they want to ask the panel? Oh, where are we going?
Is that okay? Yeah, right. So, some very powerful pieces in that program, very interesting. Thank you very much for putting it together. It was fascinating. I'd like to ask a question, and then what the answer is, and then why. My question is the the most powerful rhetorical statement, does the person who makes the most powerful rhetorical statement mean that that person is most likely to be listened to? So if you could consider that question and then say why you think it might be, why the answer might be the way you think it might be.
Anyone? Do you know, I don't really understand the question. Could you maybe clarify?
There was some very... Oops, sorry. Come on, Sam, I'll get you again. There were some very powerful statements in there, but there were some other more finely wrought statements. There were some things that were very raw, very powerful, very purposefully powerful. And there were others that were, I wouldn't want to use the word delicate, but sort of more finely wrought. In that sense, which is more likely to be listened to? The shouty one or the quiet one?
I can start. I mean, like all things, there are no binaries, and I think that we need both and everything in between. I think that any revolution needs a kind of a wide variety of tactics. So yeah, let's shout and let's whisper and let's do everything in between.
I can talk on from what I've done with Black Barbie. It wasn't like direct, and I think it's had people just, sometimes it's good to, like you were saying, be direct, and sometimes you can be indirect. And I think with animation, it has the power to, you can touch on delicate things, but still talk, about important issues. And I think with Black Barbie, it's not. I tried to not do it so direct because, but in some way it did. I mean, it's managed to create a lot of discussion. So I do believe that it works both ways. It's so hard to say whether being direct gives you the impact and being indirect. So I feel like it just works both ways for me.
And actually, hi Jeremy, this is something I've been thinking about a lot recently because I've just finished a new film, and it's like, how much do you want the work to be quite open so that the audience will project things onto it and come up with their own conclusions, and how much do you want to really sort of hammer them over the head with a single message? I think it probably depends on, each different film, and it depends on who's listening. So it's a complicated question. We probably all wrestle with it,
Stacey, do you want to add anything?
I think they've covered all the bases. I agree that there's a variety of tactics necessary to make the point. Prescriptive work has its place. Expressionist work has its place. And it depends, I guess, if you want to learn or if you want to evoke emotion. It just depends on your agenda, I think.
Great, thank you. Were there any more hands in the audience? See one there.
That was great, thank you. I think there was a lot of historical references in all your movies and how things used to be compared to how they are today. I think we could see that perhaps it was expressed with more violence back then. Do you think, how can I phrase that? Do you think things are better today than they were before? Do you think they're just expressed in a more subtle manner, in a way that people are enclosed in some of these societal standards and caged in some of these norms? Or do you think it's more expressed in a more subtle way today?
Okay, well, I'll start that because it's my fault you watched all of these films. So I did purposely bring films that have, look back, but, for instance, Happy and Gay is done in a 30s style, but is essentially saying, have things improved? Or, I think quite a lot of the films are making that point that, even with Black Barbie, it's like, is colorism still an issue? Yes, it is. It's like, so I think, there is still, you kind of still just need to keep having these conversations until we don't have to have these conversations anymore, really.
I could just add to that, just look at the statistics for gender-based violence under lockdown, and that gives you the answer. That we all like to think things have moved on, but fundamentally some things haven't.
Anyone else wants to?
It's interesting because I did Black Barbie in 2016, just at the beginning when this whole race discussions were coming, and now it's like full blown. And again, like you were saying, Abigail, colorism hasn't really gone away as much as we feel like, oh, we're having these discussions about race, but it's still there. I mean, I don't even want to go into that whole little mix situation that happened. I don't even, I'm there. I found it interesting because I was like, wow, so these things are still happening and people are still discussing, these important stuff. So yeah, it is interesting when you do a film that you think, oh, this is the time, but fast forward 5 years, it's still, things still haven't changed and I'm sure like if I look back in 20 years time, we're still going to be having these discussions, which is, I hope so we don't, like people do get to understand the importance of, self-love and stuff. So yeah.
Well, I think it's complicated with transness. I guess I'm talking in relation to my film. Obviously, trans people are a lot more visible now than they used to be, and they have a lot more exposure, but also that has actually led to kind of more violence on the street and in schools and even in government and from the media towards trans people. There's been a huge backlash. So, it swings and roundabouts, I guess. I guess maybe not to be kind of really negative. Like I think that that film, I think it was Scum Manifest. Was it called Scum? What's it?
Manifesto, yeah.
Scum Manifesto. Yeah, where there was a bit where they said something like, the fact that we exist is proof that other worlds are possible. Like I really feel that, and I really think that by existing we change the world as well. So yes, I hope it's getting better.
Yeah. Stacey, did you have anything to add?
I think oppressive energy is sort of like whack-a-mole. You push it down in one area and it pops up in another, and people have sort of seemingly infinite energy to oppress and marginalize others. But by the same token, I think resistance and resilience is always bubbling under the surface, and on all of these people on this panel are proof that the work is constant and the resistance is constant. And I do think we make small concessions, and then we also make small wins. And the progression, I don't know if we're headed towards anywhere truly different, but I know that this kind of thing gives me a lot of faith.
Great stuff. We've probably got one very quick question we could possibly squeeze in. Anyone who wants to be the last question? Oh, yeah, go on then.
Hiya. What are you working on next?
Birgitta, I feel like you should start with this one. And when will your exhibition ever happen?
It's a bit of a saga. Well, I've just finished a film. It's for an installation in Vienna. It's just been postponed for, I believe, the 4th time because of the new lockdown in Austria. It was supposed to open next week. And it is, I'm turning, when it does finally open, which I believe will be very soon, it will be an installation in which the whole gallery is turned into a peep show, and you look in through the holes, and it's like you're journeying through a woman's body. So the metaphor is that it's very lesbian work, and that's what it's intended to be. So it's quite a sexual work. And one of these days it will open.
Come with it.
So I'm currently, I haven't been able to work because I'm currently, I'm assistant directing on a TV show for CBBC at the moment, Jojo and Gran. So it's like the first black TV, animated TV show. So I'm doing that. But in terms of personal project, I've had to put it on hold, but it's about this young man who has unwanted guests, which is anxiety and depression, and he's a black man because we don't talk about black men with mental health. So I'm trying to get funding on that. So it's a live action and animation short film that I'm working on. Well, we've just been trying to get the funding, but that's like we've been waiting. So hopefully after I finish this project, I'll get onto that one.
And Lily?
So I'm also kind of doing a lot of money work at the moment, but my the project that I want to be working on, that I'm sort of working on the side, is about utopias. So a bit like what we were talking about just now, thinking about kind of radically hoping the future into existence. And I'm kind of doing a lot of research around that and talking to a lot of people. And it's going to be kind of experimental and hopefully really exciting.
Sounds exciting, for sure. And Stacy, what are you up to?
I'm moving to Glasgow. Doing packing boxes.
Will you make anything creative ever again?
That is my hope. Yeah, once I've unpacked, absolutely. But the plans are quite ephemeral at the moment, so I'm just working and moving.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Well, thank you all so much. I think we're going to have to wrap it up there, but I'm sure we will see more of your work here at the festival in the future. And thank you all for being here and for joining us. Thank you, everyone.